Well, guys, we're working on the next Mustang. So last night I got the headers on, and the headers were kicking my, well, let's back up a little bit. I was looking at this car, and I was like, man, the engine looks like it's got a pretty steep angle to it. It's like something's not right here. Kind of just went along with it. When you think something's not right, sometimes it's not right. Listen to your gut. So anyways, I get, he brought the car, headers already off, which is nice, but I still had to remove the engine mounts to get the forward-facing manifolds in, just because stock frame rail car, it's a little hard to get them in from the top. So it's easier just get a pole jack and take the engine mounts off. So take the engine mounts off, pretty normal there. Shit's over-timed, no big deal. Get them out, and I'm trying to get the manifolds in, and they're just not sitting right. And I'm looking. The damn trans mounts, he's got 1200. Whoever installed the trans mount, no offense, but they installed it upside down. So the engine had this crazy kick to it because the trans wasn't sitting up high enough. And yeah, so, which also makes sense because typically a Turbo 400 or a Power Glide, mostly the 400s are a little bit bigger. You have to massage the tunnel to get it to fit up in there with the linkage and everything. And I looked up and I'm like, man, they didn't have to really make any room for the linkage. So totally makes sense. The engine was sitting at the way incorrect angle. I'm glad I caught that, because if I would built the turbo kit with that incorrect angle and then someone goes and finds out the trans mount is upside down, the turbo kit would not fit. So everything makes sense now. So yeah, anyways, had to lower the mount, flip it, and then obviously I had to massage the tunnel because the Turbo 400 wasn't fitting in there. So I had to take the linkage off, massage tunnel, put it back on. Everything fits now. The manifolds are both on. I'm going to have to end up relocating either the PCM and maybe the fuse box. I don't know yet, kind of like an on-3. The only reason why, let me take this stupid thing off. The only reason why I was trying not to relocate those is definitely extra work, which is no big deal. We do it all the time at the other shop. But he wants bumper exits on both sides. So trying to get to the bumper and then make sure that it's not, keeping away from the PCM and fuse box. There's a lot to keep in mind there. So anyways, I ended up moving the harnesses off of the frame rails for now, because they're definitely, you can't have them running on the frame rails, which is similar to almost all the turbo kits, on 3BL fab, all that stuff, unless it's a bottom mount kit. So that is the good thing about bottom mounts. You don't have to relocate anything, but the top mounts look better. You just got to move some stuff around. So anyways, let me show you, we got the headers in. So you can see this harness that was up here, I just put it down here for now. We're gonna have to obviously make some clamps and stuff for it, but right now it's just kicked down there. And then this is pretty common on any forward facing manifolds. You gotta relocate the brake lines and then heat wrap them. I'll worry about that later. And then like I said, I pulled that whole harness off of the frame rail and rerouted it. I'm gonna reroute it to the fender well side. So I just wanted to get it out of the way so I can get the manifolds in there. And now the engine's sitting nice and level like it's supposed to be. So this is good news. I mean, this thing was so kicked. I wish I had a picture to show you guys. When I opened the hood, I knew something was off because the back of the manifold was like under the cowl like that. I mean, the angle was really bad. Flip your trans mount on your Turbo 400 and you'll see what I'm talking about. So anyways, got the intercooler here. Worked with Mike Thomas on this one. He built this one for me as well, but he didn't do the mounts. So welding up the mounts right now to get that in there, and then we'll get the Chase Bay's radiator mounted up in there, but I need to get the intercooler first, just kind of see how forward and back everything is. I already kind of mocked it up, and that's why I've fully welded the mounts out. So I'm gonna get those on there, and yeah, moving right along. Guys, we have upgraded. Shout out Dustin Burnham. We got mini splits. However, we don't have spray foam because that shit's expensive. So they don't work the greatest. When you're sitting in front of them, I mean, they feel amazing. They're putting off 67 degrees of air. But because it's a metal heat box with no foam, it's still 92 in here. And it's, I think it's what it is outside. So it's nice when you're at the bench, at the workbench. So I can put one of the workbenches in front of it, but yeah. that's how we're going. So anyways, working on David's, it's a good name, David's twin turbo Mustang from New Mexico. Well, we're twin turboing it. I think I mentioned previously, but we had to get the engine sitting right, flip the turbo 400 mount the correct way, got the headers on, I got the intercooler mounted, got the radiator mounted. So yeah, you can kind of see, there's the intercooler. And the radiator, I gotta adjust it a little bit, but it is in there. And so right now, I'm working with the Maven mounts. I know I've seen a lot of people do it this way, but you know, you can use one of those engine hoists that go across, or how Joe and I did it back in the day. We'd use an actual engine hoist and roll it up to the car and hang the turbos. But I don't have anything here today to help me hold the turbos. So this is gonna be a little bit of a pain in the ass, but not a big deal. But essentially what you could do also is people put like a piece of angle iron from here across to something here, and then put a level on it, and then you can either hang the turbo off of that, or you can actually, I've seen people bolt the turbo to like the drain or the feed fitting. However, his feed, these are VS turbos, his feed is that side. There's nowhere to really bolt to. So I've also seen people hook a chain to them. But anyways, they're pretty light, so I'm kind of just doing it myself. But just a quick tip, if you want to do this at home, take a piece of angle iron, put it across, make them match, and then hang your turbos, and that'll save you a lot of time of going back and forth and cutting and all that stuff. But we're just gonna wing it today. So, but yeah, that would save you a ton of time. So let's get these mounted. All right, guys, got one turbo mocked up. It's tacked in. Pretty happy with the fitment. I was just checking kind of, he wants to do bumper exit exhaust, which is a little tough when you mount the turbos this way. When you mount them this way, it's easy to do the fender exits because just 90 out. But he does want bumper exits. He made that very apparent when he dropped it off. So we're gonna have to like tight 90, come back, and then go down through the bumper, which won't be too bad because there are only 3-inch downpipes, so it gives you a little bit of room. But if he does want to upgrade turbos, looks like there's a decent amount of clearance. Just depends on how much bigger he goes. But if he keeps the same cover size and exhaust housing size, obviously you can always upgrade the wheels to bigger wheels. But I think in reality, most likely in the end, he'll upgrade the exhaust housing side. The cold side is pretty normal size, but he's got room to go bigger. So just trying to keep that in mind, because you know, everybody always wants to go bigger in the end. But I'm pretty happy with the placement right there. And that's really, he was wanting something like Nick's kit, so I kind of based it off Nick's. Moved it a little bit, but it's pretty similar. So, but man, I'm pretty happy with that. Now the hard part is always matching the other side. That's the hardest part. So let's see how that goes. And update on the mini splits in the heat box. Yeah, it's technically hotter in here than it is outside. So probably should just turn them off because it's wasting electricity. But man, when you're standing in front of them, it's worth it. I mean, it's just like the coldest air ever. But then you step about 10 feet away and you're back into the hot metal box. So we need spray foam, but man, I got quoted for spray foam and it was $8 grand. And that's probably normal, I'd assume, but damn, that stuff's expensive. So we probably gotta knock out a few more turbo kits before we can do that. Dang it, we just missed Kennedy. She is tired. I woke her up at 10 o'clock to help me. Shout out Kennedy for helping me. Man, it took a little longer than expected. So I kind of winged the driver's side, and then when I went to mock up the passenger side, I had it very close, and then I kind of moved it, and I could just never get it back in the same spot. And I don't know, if you've done fab work before, that sometimes happens, and it's so frustrating because, I don't know, maybe somebody out there can relate. I've had this happen, you know, that just happens in life. You're so close to getting something perfect, and then it moves just a little bit, and it takes you 3 times as long to get back there. I don't know why that is, but anyways, it all worked out for the better, I guess. So I was saying, if you want not a cheat code, but a more efficient way to do this, is you would take a bar. some type of tube or something. Flat iron is better because it sits flat, but I didn't have any. I don't ever carry flat iron. I don't do that type of stuff. I should probably get some, but I had this 1/2-inch chromoly piece. So I was really having trouble matching the turbo, and I was having Kennedy hold it, and it was awful, and then she had to go to an open house thing, and so I had to make something to hold it. So I made this little piece of chromoly, and it was sitting there, and then I kind of bolted it kind of like that. And so it was easier to hold it. It didn't hold it in the perfect spot, but that's kind of something you can do. Now I have an idea on how to make this better, but this was better because then she could just hold this bar and not worry about me burning her when I was tacking in the bracket. But it took a lot longer than expected, but I should have made something like this in the first place, because if I'd have mounted the first turbo based off that, then when I went to do the second turbo, I know exactly where to set it and it would match perfectly. So if you want to be more efficient, do that. Or like I said, the better way to do is use some flat iron and drill some holes in it. But let's take a look. So we got the turbos mounted, and they're pretty freaking close to me. I don't know. It's hard to say, but they look really close to me. So we're rolling with it. So I'm gonna tighten those up, but man, look at that. Oh, that's sick. Very cool. So, gonna tighten them up so that they don't move, and then we need to get the exhaust housings on there, and so we can start looking at, probably gonna build the hot side first, 'cause I think that's gonna be trickier, because it just have less room. So the downpipe won't be too bad. I'm gonna see if he wants me to trim this out, or if he just wants me to do a hole saw. I can do a hole saw, but if I trim this out, I can actually do a tighter 90. But with a 3-inch tight 90, I just grabbed one. It hits this just enough where I'd feel better if I could just cut this out. If I do a hole saw, then I probably will do a loose 90 radius and go through the hole, but then I gotta come back. So I don't think that'll look as good, but I'll kind of run it by him, see what he wants to do. Then this side, obviously, PCM's out of the way, and it's gonna have to be moved for sure. We probably, if we're lucky, we'll just have to move it to the inside of the fender well, and then the harnesses, we'll just have to get them up and out of the way and P-clamp them or something. But the fuse box can definitely stay in the stock location. It's just gonna be a matter of the harnesses and the PCM. So, and then we got pretty decent, easy access. Those shouldn't be too bad, because obviously we can rotate these up and down. So yeah, that shouldn't be too bad to make those pieces. Back on the Mustang, started welding out some aluminum, got the ferrules welded to the turbos, and then I started actually making all the pipes that are gonna, I kind of knew how I wanted to run the first bend off of the intercooler. So I made a few of these already with the flanges on them. I need one more actually, but I really want all those the same, because for the most part, I remember on Nick's kit, the bottoms you can't see, but the tops you can definitely see. So I definitely want the tops to look the exact same. And then once they get around the intercooler, it doesn't really matter if they match or not. But these are mirror image turbos, so that does give us the opportunity to make it very symmetrical, or try to. So yeah, we got the ferrules on the turbos. We got the first couple pieces, first couple bends, I guess you could say, for the intercooler. And then I got the HD clamp adapter. This is actually the SPE one. They're all kind of the same. I just need the, actually it goes this way. I need the spacers for it. I gotta go grab the spacers and bolts. And then I have the first bend for that one as well. So we're moving pretty quick on this. I really wanted to start the hot side first, or today, but I'm waiting on the Maven flanges to come in. His turbos are T4, like traditional 4-bolt style. So I had to order the Maven flanges for that. I got a bunch of V-band ones, but I don't have those. So ordered those. Hopefully those will be here tomorrow. So that's why I really want to do the hot side first, so that the turbos are really, I mean, they're obviously really stout, but I really don't want to make any more alterations. I want to get the hot side in there, but since I kind of know which way the cold side's going to go, I started mocking up kind of the first bends and welding some of the flanges just to knock that stuff out while we wait on the Maven flanges. So those should be here tomorrow. Then we're going to knock out the hot side, and I think that's going to be a little tricky because it is pretty tight, especially when you get one of those 2.5, it's a 4-bolt T4 flange to a 2.5-inch hot side. And so the way I got to come back up to the header, it's pretty tight near the frame rail and the alternator right there on the driver's side. On the passenger side, we definitely have a little more room. There's a bunch of harnesses there, but those are the harnesses we're going to move out of the way, so not too worried about that. But hopefully knock out the cold side and the hot side this week, and then probably next week start working on the downpipes. But there's going to be a lot of final welding because the downpipes, that's a lot of material. And that just, when you're back purging stainless, it just takes a while. It's a lot of material. I never really noticed because Joe used to weld a lot of downpipes for me because I'd always change my mind on the downpipe. And he's like, dude, you owe me like a couple bottles of argon. And I never understood why. And now I got 2 bottles because when you back purge, that shit goes by fast. So catch you guys tomorrow working back on the Mustang. All right, guys, we got the, oh, you want to see this ugly mug? We've got the Maven mounts in. So 2.5-inch T4 flange to a 2.5-inch, super nice billet. Always use the Maven stuff in any of this. So yeah, super nice, just got these in. Plan to try and really start going pretty hard on this hot side. I have a really good idea how I'm gonna do the cold side. Started mocking up some of the tubes last night and everything looks good. So actually won't be too hard, but the hot side is gonna take some work for sure. Oh my God. I was gonna film it, but I forgot to, but I was running Barry's car. We're gonna go to XRP for some testing next week. It's a race, but we're gonna be testing at the same time. And there's a lot of methanol in here. My eyes burn and my throat hurts. So we're gonna get these Maven flanges on and we're gonna start tackling this hot side. Now, like I said, the hot side it's gonna be a little difficult because how close it is to the frame rail and then trying to get back into the header. It's the only problem with these when you place the turbos there, but it is possible and we're gonna make it happen. So, update you guys when I do that. Well, I will update you guys, I guess, in a little bit. Probably not for a while, maybe tomorrow or Monday, because I'm about to have to crank out some hours on this thing to get caught up. Whew, I was already not liking the time frame I was on. Not that I was behind, but I wanted to be a little bit further ahead based on the hours I had into it. Mounting the turbos kind of kicked my ass, and this really just kicked my ass, so that sucks. Damn. That's part of it. All right, guys, after a long... Kennedy's laughing. Can't show Kennedy, she's in her jams. Updating the website, though. Labor Day, updating the website. So, after redoing the hot side 97 times yesterday, finally got it exactly how I wanted, and even made a little jig for the turbos in case somebody wants them in the same spot. It'll save me 16 hours. So, got the downpipe started, trimmed up the fender wells where the downpipes are going to go. There's the passenger side and the driver's side. So really happy with how that came out. Like I said, after doing it so many times. So now I'm going to start this cold side, the main charge pipe to the intake. Just kind of start mocking that up, and then I'm going to mock up these cold sides today for the turbos. And then I'm going to have to order a merge because it's going to go 2.5 into the intercooler, and then it's going to come out 2.5 on the bottom and then merge to a single 3.5 up to the intake. And then I'm going to start mocking up. I already did the first elbow of the downpipes. He wants some bumper exits, so we got to come back forward and then down at 90. So probably going to have to order a lot of material for the downpipes. So that's why I wanted to get them mocked up. But yeah, we're making it. All right, we're on to the cold side. Got the main 3.5 inch pipe going already. Welded that one out. Got the Coyote Direct HD clamp on there. So starting to make the pipes into the intercooler up top and do the top ones because I need a merge to finish the main one, which no big deal. I'll get that ordered today. So got these tight 120s that work really well going into the turbo. So I got this one welded already. And these are actually, I kind of already knew how to make these because this is a similar kit to Nick's. And so I had to make those already. However, on Nick's, it was actually really easy. I took 2 of these tight 120s and just literally needed 2 of those into each other. This one I had to use a loose 90 and then a tight radius 120. And the other side obviously will be the same. You'll just, you don't want to make them exact and not measure because they're probably just a hair off. So I'm going to cut this one and then get making the passenger side while the driver's side's cooling off. But I already made the driver's side, just waiting for it to cool off. And so now we'll get the passenger side made. All right, there you have it. Got the small 2.5 inch into the turbo, both sides. So next, like I said, we'll have to go 2.5 on the bottom, get a little merge, and then merge to a 3.5 somewhere in there. And stock PCM car, so we gotta add a math. And then probably put an 1/8 inch bung somewhere for, I think he has a boost leash, or he's gonna run a boost leash. And boost leash has to do that for their sensor, for their boost pressure sensor. Same thing on like AMS 2000 if you want to add an extra boost pressure sensor. Obviously you can go with the manifold, but with it being a plastic manifold, it's easier just to leave an 1/8 inch bung. So that's what we've been doing on a lot of the charge pipes recently. So next, I think, because like I said, I gotta wait for the merge to come in. So now that that's done, I think I'm gonna move back onto the downpipes. Like I said, I already had the first little tight 90 bend on each side just to kind of locate everything, make sure we had clearance. And so, like I said, he wants to come out the bumper, which is gonna be somewhere over here. And the pipes right now are up there. So we have to come hug the fender, or hug the frame rail as close as we can, and then come down and out through the bumper. So Well guys, just got back from Big Jake's race at XRP. If you don't know what that is like the biggest grudge event of the year for small tire radial stuff. I'll put in like one little clip here maybe, but if you haven't been to that, you should definitely check it out. It is insane, the amount of money, the caliber of cars, caliber of racers there, and then the amount of people there. It is awesome. No time grudge racing, it's really sick to watch. But anyways, just got back, so we're working on the downpipes. I already cut the hole for this side. He wants this flush cut, so obviously we'll put it, you know, a little past the bumper. And then I've got, I mean, this thing is snug right now. It's a perfect 3-inch circle, so I'll probably have to go through and clean a little bit of it out, so it's got a little bit of a gap. But that's where we're at there. Then we already got the downpipe coming through there. So I'm working on the little, it's a little, but it's pretty good section, good size section with a 45 on it. So I got some fitting to do here, but that's that, and then we'll get on to the other side. So we're making pretty good progress on this. I got the merge for this to split to the smaller 2.5 inches. So once I get the downpipes done, I'm going to work on the merge pipe, and pretty much that's a wrap for the turbo kit. Obviously I still got to hang the gates, hang the blow-off valves once I do the charge pipe, and then last thing we'll do is kind of move all this stuff and see where we need to move everything, and then make some brackets if we need to and get everything cleaned up. Got this side welded out, and then, starting to do the blow-off valves on both sides, so I'm about to pull the other side off, do the blow-off valve, and start knocking out the small stuff. Well, in true fashion, I messed up filming a lot of this project. You just, when you're by yourself, you know, trying to get stuff done, it's just really hard to film yourself when you're just trying to get shit done. So, yeah, I've pretty much done with this car. So, before I put it completely back together, kind of show you how it ended up before the bumper goes on and you can't see anything. So, got the blow-off valves down here, welded up pretty nice. Pretty happy with those. Ended up being able to keep the fuse box in the stock location, which really helps because that's a lot of harness to remove and move around. So, but I got the PCM down here, tons of clearance, plenty of room between the exhaust and the PCM, and it's really sturdy. It's not going anywhere. Just use some billet spacers and some riv nuts. But yeah, you can see from underneath, already starting to zip tie some stuff up, but got the oil drains going in there into the pan. Got the wastegate dumps coming through right there. There's the other side. I might make you sick with this crazy filming I'm doing, but I just wanted to show you underneath what it looks like. Man, I really wanted the gates to be exactly where the other ones were, but the headers, or not the headers, but the merges from the headers to the turbos aren't the exact same, so the gates aren't in the exact same spot, but they're close. But I wasn't ever really aiming for that. It was just that'd be nice if it ended up that way. Just put some P-clamps with some riv nuts here to hold the T for the oil feed. Got an oil feed adapter fitting in there, 4N coming out, then teeing off to both turbos, obviously. And then I heat wrapped oil return lines, just because they're kind of close to the gates. And then got the charge pipe in there, heater core crossover, Deleted the whole thermostat housing, pretty normal. You're gonna come out with a 16 there. Got the chase bays. Little water neck with the little filler neck there. We've been running those on a lot of these setups recently. So yeah, just pretty much got to plumb the radiator fittings, and that's about it. Got a nice little DTM connector coming off for the fan. Should zip tie that out of the way. But yeah, the fuse box is able to stay there. Tons of room. I just kind of zip tied the harnesses up. Yeah, just really putting it back together. So, like I said, it's really hard when you're trying to do stuff yourself. You forget to film, and you're just trying to get the car done. So, I'm trying to do a better job, but man, it's just so tough with how busy we are. I'm trying to get better, I promise. But got a lot of videos coming out. I'll show you this car when I get it cleaned up and with the bumper on, so you can see it. Just so you can see how I don't know if I even should have the exhaust come through, but he wanted bumper exits, so welded out some bumper exits, got the O2s in there. I will say, fender exits are actually a little bit easier on a setup like this, just because the turbos are already at pretty much the fender height. So having to do the bumper exits was definitely a little tricky, because I pretty much had a tight 90 back towards the front, and then drop over the frame rail, and then go down under towards the bumper. And so yeah, fender exits on these top mounts are a lot easier, because like I said, you're already kind of in line with the fender, so it makes it easy. You can kind of just go out to the fender, just a little bit easier. But yeah, this is a lot of turbos are being mounted this way on the S550s. Honestly, the first person to do it was Jim Braun on Brett LaSalle's Mustang, gosh, probably 3 or 4 years ago. They did the turbos like that, and then we did maybe they did it 4 or 5 years ago. Then we did a similar setup on Nick's car almost 4 years ago, because we just got the trans back, and yeah, that was almost 4 years ago. So, and then a lot of people just started mounting the turbos there, which it's a really good location for a top mount setup. It gives you room to get the exhaust out, gives you room to get intercooler piping. There's only so many ways you can mount these turbos. You know, the On3 top mount kits, when Aldo, when he had his top mount kit, the turbos were facing straight forward. But man, it's just so hard. You know, with the On3 kit, we install a lot of those. We haven't done one in a while. We used to install a lot of them. The problem with those is cars just get a lot of heat in the engine bay, because you got the exhaust going past the valve cover and then down behind the head. So it just creates a lot of heat in the engine bay. Obviously, when the turbos are in the engine bay, they create a lot of heat also. But with the fender exits or the bumper exit, it gets a lot of that heat out of the engine bay. But we honestly, like I said, we used to install a lot of On3 kits. We don't do as much anymore. We're doing more custom or a little bit nicer kits these days. The On3 is kind of hard to beat for the price, honestly. But when you want to make more power, you got to go with a little bit nicer kit. So yeah, it all works. But yeah, it's just, you know, how do you want your turbo kit? So I really like the top mount stuff. We do a lot of mid mounts too. And I've made a mid mount kit, and I've modified some mid mount kits. Those work really well too. But a lot of people, when they do turbos, they want their shit up top. And so yeah, you know, when you get turbos, you want to show them off. So that's why I think this location is pretty popular for these cars, and there's a lot of room when you do the turbos this way. You can get a pretty big turbo in there. You can come forward a lot. You can keep going in if you run out of room on the outside. So there's a lot of location advantages for sure, especially with like a stock frame rail car. Tube front car, like the white car did, you got tons of room. You can go anywhere you want with the turbos. That car has a ton of room in the engine bay. But these stock frame rail cars, that forward facing headers and then top mount turbos like that angled towards the middle, it gives you a lot of room and a lot of clearance. So we're gonna wrap this car up sometime tomorrow. We'll get the bumper on, get it cleaned up, and gotta zip tie a few things out of the way, but this thing is getting wrapped up. I'm pretty excited about it. there you guys have it. Wrapped up, cleaned up. So he's got to cut this, put a plug on it because it's running into where we normally put the fill caps. But other than that, I know he's got to do fuel system still. He's got to do his onboard air. He's got to do a boost controller. But yeah, the turbo kit, it's wrapped up. It's ready to go. It's ready for him to finish it up. So huge thanks to David from New Mexico letting me do this. This thing came out sick. I love it. The color of this car, man, it's gonna look sick. He wanted to keep everything raw, which the raw stuff does look good too. So there you guys have it. Let me know what you think.